Welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. I'm Sheila Moniga and I'm happy you found this channel. Please click subscribe and hit notifications so you never miss an episode. And we're counting down to a brand new season, but before that starts, we take a look back at conversations that inspired us to live, love, and grow. On this episode of My Motivate, Kenyan-born US-based surgeon Dr. Sophia Omoro talks about her journey to being a top surgeon, her iconic fashion brand odAomo, and giving back to a new generation of medics and designers.
Let's go to the very beginning, getting to know who you are, because there's design and there's medicine, but they all tie together so beautifully in this beautiful woman that I'm sitting with. So where did it all begin? Tell us about yourself growing up.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up right here in Kenya. Actually, buruburu to regular parents. Regular in Kenya for us at that time means that you kind of, scrabble for things. I still look back and wonder how my dad managed to educate all of us. But my dad was all about education. My dad said, my job is to find the how, your job is to do well. And so, of course, I wanted to please Daddy.
Right.
Daddy said, you have to be number one in everything you do. Number two is not good enough.
That's not my daughter. Number two is not my daughter, but number one is.
Number one. So me, I wanted to please Dad, and I was overachiever number one in almost everything I did. But it's almost like Dad knew, because that number one-ness opened amazing doors for me. So I found myself as the recipient of a single scholarship at the time given to a single student in Kenya to go study abroad.
Wow.
So right after my Form 4, just started Form 5 at the time, I find myself in Canada, never having flown, never having been on a plane, had no clue what I was doing. From there, I landed at one of the most influential places I've been.
Right.
It was one of the United World Colleges. At the time, there were 7 of them, funded fully by philanthropists whose goals were to just create world peace by bringing people from different countries, live together, figure it out, get along.
Right.
Going back, I actually always knew I wanted to be a doctor.
Why?
I knew.
What happened? I mean, there must have been something that happened along the way that
You
made
know-
you know this is it for me.
Growing up in Shags, we'd go to Shags when we're not in school. I always felt so bad for the chickens being killed.
No.
It's hilarious. So one day, we were told as kids, go get the chicken for dinner.
Yeah.
So, kids are running after the chicken and someone jumped on it and the leg broke. And I was like, nope, we cannot eat this chicken. So begged Mom, please, please not this chicken. And she says, what are you going to do with it? The leg's broken. I said, I'm going to fix it. And so I did. With like a stick and some banana leaves, I tied that leg and the chicken walked in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy? So I always knew I wanted to fix people with surgery. But the moving moment for me came again in Shags. I remember there was a kid who was sick. At night, there was a knock on the door, and my dad had the only tiny rickety car in the village. And so the mom is like, my child is sick, can you help us? So my dad said, yes, get in the car. We tried to drive to Kisumu, which is about 25 miles from Muhoroni. I sneaked in, the child didn't make it. And I remember thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. We need to have a hospital in such parts of this country, or at least have people access healthcare.
Yeah.
So that was always my vision. I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't know how, but I knew that was my
One
calling.
day, that was what you would end up doing.
Yep. I was only 12. And so I had my marching orders, my focus was on that, and then some doors just opened.
Right.
I just had to kind of take those first steps at a time, do well, keep your eyes on the focus, avoid your obstacles.
Yeah.
And so going all the way to Canada, found myself in the US,
Yeah.
was able to go to medical school and graduate school.
Wow.
And my mom used to say, okay, enough schooling,
Come back now.
come back, go to
Right.
work. I did an MD PhD program, so I have a double degree, medical and PhD.
Wow.
Have done some research things, have published some papers, and then I chose to be a head and neck surgeon.
Wow.
Yeah.
stop for a second because I'm trying to catch up with this whirlwind. You know, we hear stories about Kenyans who go to America and the distraction is real.
Yeah.
The noise and the clutter, and it's so easy to get distracted. It's very easy to lose focus. What kept you going?
You know, a lot of people think that America is easy. And I think I survived America because I entered it at a very young age. And so I was able to integrate and navigate the system.
Right.
Number one. Number two, I felt that I had been given this wonderful opportunity out of all the very many deserving people. It wasn't that I deserved anything, but I got the opportunity. I felt a huge responsibility to make something of it. And so I knew that I had to do what had taken me there. I had to succeed, and ultimately I had to give back because it was a privilege. It wasn't deserved. It was grace, is what I call it.
Right.
Grace. And so that gave me a lot of responsibility to focus and get it done and then give back.
But I just want to connect the dots with odAomo,
Yes.
because here you have this thriving medical career going. You're doing something that you know you were called to do, and you're doing well. But then here comes fashion.
Fashion.
How now?
I know.
Please help me connect that dot.
At the end of the day, as you can see, I'm a super girly girl. And
A beautiful one too.
thank you. I mean, I had to break the mold of, number one, I'm in a surgical field where it's mostly guys. Actually, in my training residency, I was the only female. And so such times people are forced to conform and be more masculine. Don't be so girly. Don't do your hair up and don't wear, But I was like, I'm such a girly girl. Those are the things I love.
Yeah.
And growing up in Kenya with mom had the 6 girls. We didn't have money. Mom was a seamstress, and so mom would say, okay, I have a fabric. What do you guys want? And so we had to each design what we wanted, usually from the same fabric. 3 sets of girls were usually wearing the same fabric, and 3. So I was like, okay, I love you guys.
Right.
The fabric is not my choice, but my style
I'm
is
definitely going to
stand
stand out.
So I used to, draw and design my stuff. I've always loved it. When I went to the US, one of the challenges I had was buying off the rack where there's like a zillion things of what looks the same.
It's like photocopy. It's like
Yes.
your little automatons, all of you dressed the
Exactly.
same.
Yes. And so I found myself buying and then altering. And then I was like, oh, why am I doing that? Why don't I just
So buy the fabric that you want
and then bring
just-
it and have someone make it?
Yeah.
So then I was like, I can combine a few things together here. My love for fashion with a give back heartbeat, meaning get it done in Kenya, provide jobs back home, and make Kenya kind of known in the fashion industry in the West. So it was like killing multiple birds, not even 2 birds, multiple birds with 1 stone.
Tell us about this uniqueness of odAomo.
So odAomo means house of Aomo. For my fellow Luas, Od means house of. Aomo is my middle name. Now, I wanted to capture all the essence of who I am, but realizing that sometimes I'm kind of out there with my style, make it in a way that anyone can wear it. So I picked little tiny tidbits of all the things that for me give me a heartbeat. And for me, knowing where you came from, knowing where you're going, and drawing from those around you and bringing it together is what I wanted to capture. And so I wanted to combine, the cultural aspects with the past aspects with a futuristic, edgy feel, so that any woman wearing an odAomo piece is empowered. I'm all about empowering people. I want you to feel confident in my pieces, regardless of whether you're yellow, black, green. Your color doesn't matter. Your body type doesn't matter. And for that, you don't have to wear head to toe odAomo. Just like a statement piece from the brand will empower you.
And it sits. I mean, it will even sit with Western styles because
Yes.
look at that and
I
look at
know.
this.
Yes.
And look at what you're wearing
Yes.
as well. It just, everything sits beautifully.
Thank you.
It
Thank
truly,
you, Sheila.
truly does.
That was my goal. I've been so amazed and honored that a majority of my clientele are non-ethnic people. And by that, I mean people of not color, because that's who has been mostly exposed to it, being that we started in New Orleans. And so they've embraced it, they wear it, they carry the mud cloth, they wear the beading, and I'm like, thank you. So I'm very honored about that.
Wow. In speaking with you about odAomo and your medical career, I know that you have a heart to give. It's part of who you are, and you cannot change that.
No.
And I'd like to just, switch gears for a second and look at the foundation and trace its origins,
Yes.
and most importantly, its future.
So my foundation is the Blooming Lily Foundation. The name is actually derived, I would say doubly, a flower blooms. In order for you to fulfill your purpose as any kind of flower, you need to grow, you need to then have your leaves, you need to have your flower petals that are fragrant and bright, and then your pollen that gives.
Yeah.
So that was the metaphoric part of the name. But the deeper emotional, personal connection to the name is my sister Lily. I had a sister Lily who passed at what I consider a tender age of 46. Lily died under circumstances that, in my opinion, did not have to cause her death. But because of her surrounding and weeds, as I call it, it choked her flower and she didn't bloom. Lily had some depression that was not only undiagnosed, untreated as well. And people with depression are prone to entering relationships that may not be very healthy, as she did. Lily got colon cancer out of nowhere. That's usually very familial, meaning passed down generations, has just cropped out of nowhere. And in my opinion, her mental and physical health had a lot to do with it, because she was physically and mentally abused for years. And so when she got her colon cancer, it was very treatable at the time. I remember she sent me some documents in the US. It was a very small cancer that could have been treated easily with surgery and maybe radiation, and she'd be fine. However, because of her situation with her partner, he orchestrated a different approach, and so she never got any treatment to speak of, and so Lily died. Lily, by all measures, was very successful, had 2 master's degrees, spoke French, was a scientific editor for people outside, was doing very well, but then her flower just shriveled and died. And so when that happened, I asked myself, really, is this all to life? We work so hard and we get all these degrees that we think are amazing and make us amazing, and then our life is cut short. Is that it?
Yeah.
And in searching for those answers and not wanting to accept that that is what God put us on this earth for, I went onto a little journey and meditation, and I said, I have to do something about it. I have to make sure that, at a minimum, our girls or anyone else who cares to understands that we each have a destiny. All of us are on this earth for a very specific purpose. I cannot fulfill yours, nor you mine. There are very many obstacles, some of them in the form of people who will cut your destiny short. And so if you understand that you have a very particular destiny, you're empowered to know you're special. And that specialness then lets you know that no one has the right to taint your life, to cut it short. Now you're going to make me cry. Or to take away your bloom. Unfortunately, girls are at the biggest risk for this.
Yeah.
And it's not something that happens overnight. It starts when you're young.
Yeah. Little whispers, and
Little
they
whispers,
get louder and
yes.
louder and louder, and you shrink and believe because it's the only thing you keep hearing consistently.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I started the foundation in 2014 to ensure that as much as I could, plant a seed of your special. You have a purpose, you have a destiny, and you can succeed. That's your biggest gift in life, and then everything else is secondary. Being a wife, being a mother, being all of these things are secondary to your core purpose.